A normal day at the moment is just pretty relentless from the moment that baby Shay wakes up. I mean, I've never been shy about big issues, expressing my opinion. You know, when I first got pregnant, there was no maternity clause. Even though I'm only 33, you know, in cycling you are made to feel old. That's what we wanted, that's what we needed. It's the platform of the Tour de France. To be able to say that I've ridden in the Tour de France would be a huge tick on my career list.
Let's talk a bit about the last few months. New baby, Shay. So how are things?
They're as good as they can be with an 8-week-old baby, yeah. Obviously everybody tells you that when you have 2 it equals 3. But we're not there. I think we're really coping really well. We've done this before, we know what to expect, and yeah, we're a happy family at the moment.
I know that people look at you and think, how on earth do you cope? A professional cyclist and all the demands of children. So how do you cope?
A lot of it is down to my husband. Yeah, I've got a brilliant partner. I mean, the fact that he was a professional cyclist as well is obviously hugely helpful because he understands the fatigue and the stress that I'm under. So he kind of takes as much away from me as he can. Yeah, we muddle through like every family does, I suppose.
I was going to say, is there a normal day? And if there is, what does a normal day look like for you?
Yeah, a normal day at the moment is just pretty relentless from the moment that baby Shay wakes up. We get his sister off to school. I make sure that I've left enough milk behind for my husband to feed him while I'm out on the bike. I get in off the bike, I shower, I try and get some food before he needs another feed. Then it's another nap, then it's a change, then it's picking up his sister, then it's going to the shop for food, then it's making dinner. You know, it's just bang, bang, bang at the moment. You sort of just, you know, I don't feel like I've stopped since the moment he was born. I've kind of been living in these 3-hour stints, but they soon spread out and you do get used to it.
I looked at some interviews that you did earlier, one in particular, and earlier in the year, and you talked about pregnancy and the way that it changes your body. Almost you become humbled by what your body can do and you feel like Superwoman. Do you feel like Superwoman?
Not right now, no. I would say they call it the 4th trimester, right? The 3 months after you've given birth, and it's very difficult because you no longer have a bump, but you feel like you've still got one. You know, your ligaments are still very soft. No, I don't feel like Superwoman right now.
Of course, you're easing or you're getting back into training with a view to 2023. What are your plans and what are your ambitions?
I'd love to be able to start racing in May. That's the kind of ambition at the moment. 6 months after Shay is born. There's no kind of deadline on when I need to start racing, but I think that's realistic.
You have become a bit of a figurehead for equality in the sport of women's professional cycling. Was that intentional or did it kind of just happen by accident because you started a family?
I mean, I've never been shy about big issues, expressing my opinion, I hope standing up for other people. But it was just a totally emotional decision between me and my husband that we wanted to start a family and we didn't really think about the bigger picture. Yeah, it's kind of happened as a consequence of that.
You're very eloquent in putting forward why things should be more on an equal level. Do you feel you're being listened to by the right people in the sport?
Yes, I think so. Things have happened. You know, when I first got pregnant, there was no maternity clause. It was a complete unknown. I was kind of left in the dark without a team, and Trek stepped up and supported me. But since then there is a maternity clause. Other teams have given extended maternity leave to their riders. Other people are getting pregnant. I took my maternity leave and I wasn't able to be replaced by another rider. That can potentially leave the team in a bit of jeopardy, whereas now the system has evolved. You can now have somebody replace the rider who's on maternity leave. So it does take time for things to evolve and become more effective, and I think that is happening. I think now what we need to follow is potentially more of a focus on paternity leave. You know, I think it's important to see bike riders as more than just a product, you know, or something that you use in your business. You have to see your riders as humans and give them the freedom to and the respect that it's important to be part of a family, and that should be taken seriously. And if you give your riders that freedom to, I think, at least spend, you know, as a male, at least have the protection to have 2-3 weeks at home like you would in a normal job. I think that should be the bare minimum.
Let's talk about the women's racing. The biggest change I think most people would put their finger on in recent years would be the arrival or the resurrection of the women's Tour de France. I mean, what are your thoughts around what you've seen so far?
I think it was a huge success. Yeah, there was a lot of excitement around it. There was a lot of media exposure. That's what we wanted. That's what we needed. It's the platform of the Tour de France, and there's no escaping it. Even though there are other races that have done potentially more in the development, other organisers who've been there for 30 years volunteering their time, that is the reality. It's the biggest cycling event in the world, and now we have it, and I think that's been a big step.
And when you look at the parkour and the race that's being proposed for 2023, what are your thoughts on that? And will we see you there?
I would love to be there, yeah. To be able to say that I've ridden in the Tour de France would be a huge tick on my career list, I mean, I don't think I'll be coming away with the yellow jersey looking at the parkour. I think it's more of a traditional kind of Tour de France GC contenders race. You've got the time trial and then the mountaintop finish. So, yeah, I think it'll be a real GC riders battle.
You have a contract, I think, with Trek until 24.
Yeah.
Any thoughts about what might come next?
Not really, no. Yeah, it kind of creeps up on you, retirement and age. Even though I'm only 33, in cycling you are made to feel old, and it's the way it is. I think that's quite inspiring for me, looking at somebody like Annemiek van Vleuten. She's 40 and still world champion. So there's no real deadline on my career. So I think I'll just kind of ride the wave as long as I can.
Sport director, would you follow that path?
Do you know, I think it might sound arrogant to say it, but I think I'd be good at it. But whether I'd want to stay away from home when it's not my dream anymore, I'm not sure.
And if you could give any advice to the young Lizzie Deignan when she was just starting out, knowing what you know now, what would that be?
I would say to myself, just trust the process, and don't be afraid to stand up for yourself and other people, because it will pay dividends. I'm really pleased with the way that my career has grown, and I'm pleased that I've been a part of women's cycling from the beginning, where I was earning €200 a month to now where I'm able to sustain a family, and other people are doing the same thing. It's grown so much, and I feel so grateful to have been a part of that process.
I can't get out of my mind you winning Paris-Roubaix, and then afterwards your hands, and just the elation, but the sheer exhaustion that you had. What do you do to get you through those really tough times?
I think I almost go into tunnel vision. I don't actually think about Orla or Shea or Philip. I try and kind of almost become numb to it. Those real moments of exhaustion are about switching off emotional thoughts and just literally focusing on the physical thing that I'm doing. On the moments where I'm really focused, I don't know, I'm maybe like an Olympic Games or a World Championships, I'm able to get into a mindset where I ignore the emotional feelings.
You mentioned the Olympic Games here. I think you set as a target for yourself to be in Paris in 24.
Yeah, I would like to be. Yeah, I mean, it would be a 4th Olympic Games for me. I think the last 2 Olympic cycles have been interesting. Rio was a really bad experience for me, and then Tokyo, obviously because of the pandemic, was a strange Olympics. And I had that first experience in London, which I know I will never top, but I would like to kind of close the circle on the Olympics with a good experience, and I think Paris will offer that.